Welcome to the O Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How you doing, Dan?
Hey, man.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're up against the clock, so
Yeah.
we're gonna do this episode in fast motion.
Record time.
Yeah, February 7th, 2021, and we are back to review this new movie, Nomadland, starring Frances McDormand. Before we go ahead.
Before we get to it, since it's Super Bowl,
Right.
I want to shout out to our sponsor, Fat Man.
I was wondering when the plug would get in there.
Yeah, so that.
All right, so we're still square with Johnny Durango.
Yeah, exactly. We're good.
Oh man. Okay. If you are not following us, another plug, make sure that you do. And you can do that by going to our official website, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com. It's OHBpodcast.com. You get all things Oh Brother there, access to all of our episodes, both the audio podcasts, and also if you want to follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. You can do that from our website, like our videos. And we also have a blog that you can catch up on there, and a new feature on the website, which is kind of these quick take film reviews that we're churning out and putting on the site too. So make sure you check that out, and you can get access to all our other social media channels on the website there as well. You can see I've finally got
8C.
Got 8C active and ready. So the Oh Brother studios are complete. And I don't know if you can tell. So here, again, doing the weather,
Right.
I've got my Godfather Omerta edition,
which is nice,
that I got from Mike. And then, of course, his top 5 films, Citizen Kane, Rosebud.
Yep.
And then we talked about the Beauty and the Beast. Sled. Talked about Beauty and the Beast last time. That's pretty sweet. So over here, these are the new editions. So you've got the Rocky box set.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have Rocky up there. You've got Solo, which we have yet to do that episode, but I think that's going to have to be on the agenda soon. Why you should love Solo.
Oh, right. Exactly.
So we'll be doing an episode dedicated to that film. It's hard to see, but below that, in front of those two films, is the hoverboard from Back to the Future Part 2. It's pretty neat. Maybe we'll display that at some point on the show. Above that, on the wall, is, and I'll put this out on social media, is a picture of me with Sir Anthony Hopkins.
I don't think I've seen that picture.
Yeah, I'll put that out on our Instagram page. And a lot of people don't at first, they think it's like my grandfather or something, or,
he has a cap on.
And he's got a big, huge beard that he was growing for the film.
Right.
Which was, we mentioned on the last episode, is a film called Instinct that he starred in with Cuba Gooding Jr. So, that's a prized possession right there. And then up top, we've got, what do we got? We've got Grogu, Baby Yoda. Got to have that representing. And I thought I had to, beside the Danielle Harris signed Funko Pop, I had to have the Halloween 410
so a
DVD
lot of Halloween
set.
Representation there.
Yeah, a lot of Halloween there. So, as you do, we'll be swapping these out. I can see you've got some Frances McDormand stuff going on.
I do. Since we're doing Nomadland. Did I say Nomad?
Nomadland, yeah.
Nomadland, which
That's
sounds like
week.
A Bruce Springsteen song, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So over here, I have Blood Simple. These are all Coen brother movies. I didn't have her most recent one, which is 3 Billboards, but Blood Simple, awesome. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yep.
Next to that, of course, the Academy Award winning Fargo, where she won her first Academy Award.
That's right.
Over here, if I was to recommend one Frances McDormand movie, it would be this one.
What is it?
The Man Who Wasn't There.
Oh, right. The Man Who Wasn't There. Yep.
No, is that right? Yeah. The Man Who Wasn't There.
Yeah. I see it in the middle there. Yep.
And then next to that, I've got right here.
Yeah. Miller's Crossing.
Miller's Crossing.
Give him the hi-hat.
Yeah. And then Burn After Reading is the last one.
I haven't seen that one, but yeah, you've got to, folks have to see Miller's Crossing if they haven't seen
Miller's
that.
Crossing. I mean, there's four up there
Yeah,
that are must sees.
right.
Blood Simple, Fargo, Miller's Crossing, which is, after The Godfather, it's Miller's Crossing.
It's so great. Yeah, you got John Turturro, John Polito. I mean, what a
It's
who's the other guy that's in it?
I always
Play.
forget his name with the
Yeah,
cigar.
it'll come to us.
Yeah, he's
But yeah, Miller's Crossing's fantastic. You turned me
fantastic.
onto that shortly after it came out.
Yeah. And Man
Good
Who
one.
Wasn't There with Billy Bob Thornton. This is
Hmm.
this was after, Sling Blade was big. He won an Academy
Hmm.
Award and he lost like all sorts of weight, which he's been thin ever since.
Yeah,
So I remember seeing it, and it's a film noir. It's in black and white,
your
and
favorite.
it's just a great noir. So
Well, let's get into the soup du jour, which is
Nomadland.
Nomadland. Yeah. So this is again starring Francis McDormand and David. Is it Strathairn? Is that how you say his name? David Strathairn.
Yeah,
I hope I'm not butchering that, but he's
right.
another one of these guys, very recognizable in
Yeah.
just a ton of films. And then I'll have you as we tend to do each week. I'll have you give a nice synopsis of the film. So, but I did want to mention that this is directed by Chloé Zhao, who is a 38-year-old female Chinese director. And if you read up on this, just on Wikipedia, whatever, you'll see how she's also directing the next film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Yep.
Eternals. And I came to find out she was actually going back and forth between pre-production on that and filming this movie as well.
Yes.
So, but wild to go from this to that. I mean, that's talk
Yeah.
about a
Well,
huge gig
and
to have.
part of the reason for that is Nomadland was filmed over 7 months.
Right.
Most movies, 28 days, 34 days, 7 months we're talking.
Yeah, huge stretch.
And she's also being nominated. She's nominated for a Golden Globe. She's going to be one of three nominated female directors.
Right. Yeah, it's great. It's
So
great.
this movie's also nominated. You know how the Academy Awards have stretched it to 10?
Right.
Way too much. That's too much.
Yeah, this is in several categories.
So this is in the Golden Globes. It's they keep it to 5.
Yeah.
So this is one of the top 5 films as, nominated by the Golden Globes.
So give us the synopsis here. What's this film
Okay.
about?
So if you don't know what a nomad is, that's where we got to start. A nomad is somebody who um, kind of roams. If you looked it up in the dictionary, it would say something like roams with their pellets or something like that. But it's a subculture of America that a lot of people don't know about. There's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, usually it's a death of a spouse, they become what's called nomads, and they get an RV or they get a van and they travel from place to place depending on weather and season. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of people in America who find themselves as part of this subculture, and this movie deals with that subculture. And Frances McDormand, her husband dies. She winds up, financially, basically, with, after she buries him, she's there's nothing left.
Well, I think yeah, and it's important for us to point out that this takes place against the backdrop of the Great Recession when the
Correct.
mortgage crisis hit in 2008, a little before that, but the height of it at that point.
That's right. And that comes up on the screen at the beginning
Right.
where it wiped out a town. It wiped out the
Literally,
zip code,
exactly.
completely gone.
Yeah,
So
it's
all those
incredible.
people had to go somewhere.
Right.
And some of them, like Frances McDormand or her character, became nomads.
Right, because she basically moved to this town called Empire, Nevada with him, and he
Yes.
worked at the gypsum plant.
Yes.
And but eventually that went away, as did the entire town, as you said.
Yep.
So at some point, once after he died, she stuck it out for a while. And as you kind of hear in some of her dialogue later in the film, I think partly because she felt she needed to, like, in some way honor him by sticking around.
Right.
That's where that was where his presence
He
was.
loved it there.
He loved it there. Yeah.
She followed him.
Right.
And yeah, like I think for her, it's like that's where his spirit is. And she wanted to, even though, you can't, because of weather situations, if you're a nomad, sometimes you have to go different places because of weather.
Yeah. So as you said, she basically then makes a decision to pack up her things and get this van, and she retrofits it to kind of allow her to stay in and sleep in this van. And then she begins to traverse against the western, across the western United States, and taking some seasonal positions, specifically one at Amazon, which I
Right.
thought was interesting that came into play.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, but obviously when you see that she's working at Amazon and she really worked at Amazon
Hmm.
during that time for the
Right.
film.
Right.
And Amazon has this program where if you're living out of a van or living in an RV or whatever,
Down
that
by the river.
down by the river, you can park in this. They have this park, like it's just a big parking lot. You park there, you work at Amazon, but it's only for the Christmas season when they're, because you see her celebrating New Year's. She's in the van and she's got a New
Hmm.
Year's Eve thing on her head and a little popper.
Sparkler. Yeah.
And then after New Year's Eve, she's back on the road
Right.
looking for work.
And she was, back in Empire, she was a substitute teacher. You
Yes.
discover at a few spots in the film she's reciting poetry, so you kind of pick up on the fact that she had a career as a substitute teacher for quite some time, I guess. So okay, so that's a good setup of the film. It
Yeah.
gives you the basic premise. Um, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I thought it was wonderfully directed. Chloe Zhao, rightfully so, is in that category amongst others to be positioned to win that award. Frances McDormand, when is she bad? I'm not sure when she's bad. And the thing about her is she is got to be one of the most natural actors I've ever seen on screen. What I love about her and have always loved about her, and in so many of her roles, she allows herself to be stripped down to the absolute core,
Yeah.
like the ultimate core, and be vulnerable on screen. That is not easy to do,
Yeah.
and she does it like nobody I've ever seen.
And there's a couple of instances in the movie where you almost feel like you're supposed to look away
Right,
because it's very personal.
right,
And as they talk about, they go like some of these nomads, they stay together and they go from place to place together. And they have people that teach them how to survive and how to be a nomad.
right.
And what do you do when you have to go to the bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
Because most of these people, we're not talking big RVs with, beds and all this. We're talking like really small campers
Yeah, or utility vans, or
or just a
mini a regular van.
hers was just a regular van.
Yeah.
And there's one scene in it where she's sitting there with somebody and there's a lot of people. You find this out when the credits roll and you see that those people are real.
Yes.
So there's one scene where she's sitting with somebody who's really a nomad, real, her name comes up in the credits. I think her name's Swanky.
Yes.
They all have kind of funky names like that.
There's like half a dozen of them that are actual nomads.
Yes. And you can tell they're so natural. They're just, and they're really good on screen.
They're excellent.
And she's sitting there and she's cooking on, I don't know, like a Bunsen burner or something.
Mm-hmm.
She's making some soup and she's real proud about this box her husband gave her, or it was his utility box. And she put it into the van and she says, "You see this?" So I open it and it's cabinet space. And look, I've got a nice little, extra place to put things where I can eat or whatever. Just proud of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm surprised you liked the movie. I thought you might have said it was boring or
Well,
depressing.
no, but here's what, well, it is.
It is.
And that's what I would put out to the listeners. I would say it's a fantastic film, but it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's going to make you reflect and think and contemplate. And,
I was
it's
joking because I think back to when Pretty Woman was a big hit, and it's Julia Roberts and she's playing a prostitute, and we used to always joke it's the feel good prostitute movie of the year.
right.
It just doesn't show the reality of being a prostitute. It's very glamorous, and that's not what life as a prostitute is like.
Right.
It's raw, and it shows what it's like to be a nomad, not that they're prostitutes.
Because you remember your career that you had, which was short-lived, but as a male prostitute.
Well, yeah.
Frank Garvin,
yeah,
male prostitute.
Fred Garvin.
Fred Garvin, male prostitute. SNL, folks, look up your history books.
But it's dark and it's depressing, and you feel bad for these people. And a lot of them claim this is the great way to live. We were living with the earth and we're living off the earth, and we're not adding to the carbon footprint. But inside, like when the three women went to an RV park and they showed this giant RV and they were inside.
Yeah.
And Frances McDormand's behind the wheel and the others are in the back on the bed.
It's like a palace
shower. Yes.
Right.
And they're all like, wow, imagine like life like this.
Yeah. And to me, that was, that's the big conflict in the film, because we can make that assumption that isn't how they feel about it, but perhaps it really is. I mean, maybe they have found peace with it. I mean, there's a character in the film who is a real nomad. He plays the character Bob Wells.
Yeah.
And I think they all probably went by their actual first names, most of them, Linda May, and there's a whole bunch of them.
They did, because when you see the credits,
it's all right.
It's all the same names.
And this guy, like the others, just incredible on screen, very natural, but not like natural like Martin Scorsese's mother when she's on screen, and it's just not great.
Right.
But it's like, don't look at the camera, Mom. Don't look right at the camera.
Right.
But this guy was incredible. And there was a couple of scenes, like one where he gives a speech. Well, he's talking to Frances McDormand's character, and he talks about
when the one-on-one
conversation. And this idea of no final goodbye, when people maybe leave the group and they, maybe some of them pass on and, whatever.
We'll see you down the road.
We'll see you down the road. Yeah. Yeah. No final goodbye. And the other thing I liked was there was a scene in the film where Frances McDormand is a little girl who apparently knows her from back in the town. And she makes a comment about, so you're homeless.
My mother says you're homeless.
My mother says you're homeless. And Frances replies, I'm not homeless, I'm just houseless.
Right.
And that's a pretty powerful statement in the context of the film,
And there was a certain, as I went through a period where I was in California, and all of a sudden I was without a house, and I didn't want to live on somebody's sofa, and friends invited me over.
Again, the prostituting life will wreak its
We'll do
havoc
this
on
to
you.
you. So I lived in a boat,
Yeah.
and it was smaller than Francis McDormand's van. It was just enough room to lay down.
You know
It
who else
literally,
lived on a boat? Jonas Grumby lived on a boat.
but you know what I had with me? All I had in that boat, other than my
Your
clothes,
Blu-rays?
were my Blu-ray discs. At that time, it was DVD, and I had like a TV, little 13-inch TV that played DVDs. So
Yeah.
that's it shows
That's
your
commitment.
priorities.
That's
But
commitment.
I could relate to what that feels like, and I think you were talking about the guy who's kind of like the leader of the group
Yes.
almost,
Right.
and he's kind of like the godfather, and they go see him for advice or whatever. I felt like the conversation he was having with Francis McDormand, there was one point where he got really real and said, would I prefer to live this way? Probably not, but I find myself in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make the best of it. But I felt sad for some of the people, and they're and that's exactly what they don't want you to feel. Like Frances McDormand, when she
Correct.
sees that girl, she sees the mother first, and
Mm-hmm.
they're in like a Walmart. She's shopping for clothes.
Yeah.
And the woman says to Frances McDormand, "We're worried about you. You could come live with us." And Frances is like, "I'm fine."
And that's a great point, because there's, again, without going into too many specifics, there's a few spots in the film where she's sort of enticed to lay her head down in a more permanent situation, an actual
Right.
home, a house.
Yep.
And so it's interesting to see how she responds to that in the film. We'll
Yeah.
we'll leave that for listeners to view, but because I think it's clear we would both highly recommend this film.
Definitely.
And the other thing too that fits so well is actually kind of, I looked up the nominations, and I really feel like this is being overlooked for musical score. That piano score in this film was just fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really
Really,
beautiful,
really
and
good.
it complemented the story and the acting and the tone. It was wonderful.
Now, I've seen 4 of the 5 nominees for the Golden Globe. The only one I haven't seen is your buddy who's in that photo.
Right. And
He
Sir
has a
Anthony.
film coming out called The Father,
Right.
and I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
So what would you say out of the films and then the actresses?
Well,
Where does this land?
I think for the Golden Globe, it's going to go to Frances McDormand. I really do. And I think now, see, the Oscars are different because they got 10 movies and they have different women
Mm-hmm.
nominated. And one of the nominations is Viola Davis. And I haven't seen that movie yet. Um, I don't even recall the name of it right off the top of my head, but I think it's going to be between the two of them. But I think Frances McDormand will win the Golden Globe.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it's just very raw.
the,
It's
in the way that it's a lot of almost like a steady cam filming, like almost as she just had someone on her hip the entire film following her around. A lot of long tracking shots of her just walking through the camps and things,
and I think some of it
amazing.
was probably shot in a way that didn't give away they were doing a movie, so they could get realistic
Could be.
reactions
Yeah.
from people. Because I did read that Frances McDormand was in a Target or some store like that, and the manager came up and said, "Hey, if you'd like to work here," and they handed her an application.
She probably filled it out and submitted it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's pretty believable stuff.
She I mean, you have to see it for yourself. She just, like I said, it was very moving, and to just, again, I've always loved it about her, how she puts it all out there and gets as raw as you can get on camera. And I just admire that about her skills.
Some of the sadness for me was in the knowing that some of these people, this community is all they have.
Right.
They don't have relatives or none that they're in touch with.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one spot in the movie, and this doesn't really give away much, where everybody's gone except for her and another woman. And the other woman's obviously sick. In fact, she winds up telling Frances McDormand's character that I found out I had cancer, a while ago. And the point being is, she's just alone. She's just alone. And, she doesn't want to die in a hospital. She wants to, live out her life.
Right. But the silver lining, taking stock in your life, and she reflecting back and remembering all of the things that she's been able to see and do in her lifetime. For her, again, I'm watching it going, that ain't enough.
Right.
That's not enough. But, I have to trust that for her, it was, even if she was just telling herself that,
right.
to
And
comfort herself. I don't know.
She says to Frances, when I die, I just hope my friends in the community will just throw a rock in the fire and say something good about me.
Yeah, that's all.
And but I had that gut reaction where I felt I wanted to help them.
Yeah.
They don't want my help.
No.
They don't want pity.
Right.
And again, they take a lot of pride in not having a carbon footprint and surviving off the land and that kind of thing.
So, a highly recommended film, and the critics clearly, I mean, it's 95% on Rotten Tomatoes at this point. So, Mike and I would both highly recommend this film when you get a chance to see it. But go in knowing that, it's deep, and it's not a feel good movie.
It's not the Nomad movie of the year.
Exactly. But
and all these other movies of Frances McDormand's, check those out as well, and you'll see what a brilliant she's maybe Katharine Hepburn. We talked about this, I think, in the trivia.
Most Academy Awards.
Has won the most Academy Awards, and this will make her second if she wins for it. And it's gonna be close.
No, this would be her third if she wins.
This will be her third,
right?
But it'll be second. Only Daniel Day-Lewis has 3 on the male side.
Right.
And nobody else, no other female has more than 2.
Right. Yeah. Incredible.
Other than Katharine Hepburn.
So there's our take on the film. And as Mike points out, you get an opportunity to see some of her other work and at the same time be consuming some incredible Coen brothers works. I mean, those guys are just,
all these movies behind me are just, 5-star movies.
Great stuff. Anything else you want to put out there before?
No, I just like I said, really, this is like a 5 out of 5 for me.
Yep.
I think people should see it, know about this subculture. Right. Exists.
And don't forget, even though it's very subtly in the background and sort of the undertone, don't forget in this particular case why at least Frances McDormand's character is in this position with, again, the Great Recession. I think it's kind of important to
it's real important
front of mind,
And a lot of people that might be watching this were probably impacted in some way.
Sure.
Back in 2008 when that went down.
Sure. Yeah. So deep message for sure, but great performances, wonderful directing, great score. So, as opposed to the last film we reviewed, this one's coming highly recommended from both of us.
Both of us.
From both of us. So before we wrap up, let's just put out there again, if you're not already, make sure you follow us on our official website, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com. It's ohbpodcast.com. And you can find things all brother, all things Oh Brother out there, including our blog, our film reviews. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our videos out there. And we would appreciate that if you did. So that's going to do it for another episode of the Oh Brother podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
See you down the road, everyone. Live your best life.